Good evening from New York. Imagine a four-candidate election in which, no matter what else happened, John McCain was alleged to have lost his hometown of Phoenix, and George Bush was said to have been trounced in Crawford, Texas, and Barack Obama was purported to have been blown out in Chicago. Substitute those names for the three opposition candidates in Iran, and you begin to get a true sense of the election aftermath in Tehran. Our fifth story on the countdown. That picture only complete, however, once you factor in today's body count. Security forces opening fire on the crowd in Tehran's Azadi, or Freedom Square, at a rally where hundreds of thousands of Iranians were protesting against the results of last week's presidential election. At least one man was killed. The photo too graphic to show you without your consent in advance. We can show you images of more who were seriously wounded. Earlier, the demonstrators having chanted slogans favorable to Mir Hussein Mousavi, the leading reformist opposition candidate, who at one point addressed the masses today, many of them wearing the green color of Mousavi's campaign, shouting, "Mousavi, we support you. We will die, but retrieve our votes," and holding up signs, some written in English, reading, "Where is my vote?" Election results claiming a staggering blowout for the incumbent president, Ahmadinejad, 24 million votes against 13 million for Mousavi, or 63% to 34%. As we mentioned, not one of the three challengers winning his home district, ostensibly not even close. Mousavi supposedly receiving under 29% in his hometown. The third place finisher, Karoubi, receiving less than 23% in his, and perhaps most remarkable, the last place candidate, Rezai, apparently garnering less than 1% in his hometown. Nate Silver's 538.com comparing third-place finisher Karoubi's results in the last Iranian election to the purported election results that have been released in wake of the 2009 vote. In 2005, an election that Ahmadinejad won, mind you, Karoubi still managed to defeat Ahmadinejad in 11 provinces, as shown there in the blue. Ahmadinejad obviously in red in that graphic. Now here are the ostensible results in those same 11 provinces today. Not even mirror images of each other, almost cartoon-like. Ahmadinejad now allegedly trouncing Karoubi in those provinces where he essentially got no votes. Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khomeini, ordering the nation's top judicial body to investigate whether or not the election was fixed. Only a day ago, however, the Ayatollah had given his blessing to these election results. At the White House, President Obama saying, while deeply troubled by the violence, that it is up to Iran to determine its own leaders.
It is up to Iranians to make decisions about who Iran's leaders will be. That we respect Iranian sovereignty and want to avoid the United States being the issue inside of Iran. Having said all that, I am deeply troubled by the violence that I've been seeing on television. I think that the democratic process, free speech, the ability of people to peacefully dissent, all those are universal values and need to be respected.
Let's turn now to Time Magazine senior editor Bobby Ghosh. Great thanks for your time tonight, sir.
Anytime, Keith.
President Obama and the U.S., have we done all that we can do without being seen as intervening or even interfering?
I think, given the circumstances, the president has played it exactly right. He cannot afford to be seen as criticizing the election too hard, because that would make things even more difficult for Mousavi, who would then be branded as an American stool pigeon. I think at the moment the best the administration can do is express concern about the violence, but then keep its distance about the actual politics that's playing out.
The Ayatollah's concern about this and call for a real investigation. Is that a real call for a real investigation, or are such things just not done?
Well, I would be very surprised if there was a real investigation, especially since Ayatollah Khamenei has already declared this election as a divine assessment of the situation and essentially has given his blessings to President Ahmadinejad to have another term. More likely you will see a process, some sort of a whitewash take place. A great deal will depend, though, on what happens in the streets over the next few days. If the protests continue, if they escalate, if there's more violence, then there might be pressure on the Ayatollah to do more than just issue a whitewash.
Well, then the question becomes, in your assessment, will they in fact escalate on the streets? Will there be more protest? And what could the Ayatollah do short of overturning that outcome?
Well, at the moment, the protests today were able to take place because there was not a great deal of effort by the administration, by the Republican Guard, by the hardcore loyalists to Ahmadinejad to stop the protests. It remains to be seen whether over the next few days they begin to crack down. If that happens, I think we've seen protests in Tehran before in previous years. They've gone on for a couple of days, and then the Basij, these loyalists of Ahmadinejad, they've cracked down hard, and people essentially then go home. If that process sort of repeats itself, then this could die down in 4 or 5 days. But if it continues, if there continues to be a Tiananmen Square type demonstration, I think the supreme leader will be forced to make some kind of concession. It's not really clear what it is. Having already spoken his mind about Ahmadinejad, he can't now step back. But perhaps he could insist that Ahmadinejad carry out some of the promises that Mousavi himself brought to the election campaign, and perhaps. But it's a very big if, and frankly, I wouldn't go quite that far. My suspicion is that in the next few days this will die down because of some very heavy-handed crackdown by the administration.
Well, hope there is some sort of other divine assessment here that prevents that from happening in any event. Bobby Ghosh of Time Magazine providing us with superb insight on the situation in Iran. Our great thanks for it, sir.
Anytime, Keith.